Let's jump right in. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really special. Max and Claude's incredible novel, The Assistant. Now, on the surface, you might think, oh, it's just a story about a guy fixing leaky faucets in an old apartment building. But actually, it is a profoundly deep philosophical text. We're going to unpack the true nature of human connection, those invisible systems of care that keep us all afloat, and, honestly, the super blurry line between selfless service and, well, totally erasing yourself. Okay, let's dive into this. Ask yourself, what does it actually mean to help someone? We've all been taught since we were little kids that helping others is a virtue, right? But this source material flips that on its head. It forces us to ask if dedicating your entire existence to everyone else's needs is this beautiful higher calling, or if it's actually a trap that stops you from living your own life. Keep that tension right in the back of your mind as we follow the assistant's journey.
All right, Section 1, the mechanics of help.
To really get this, we have to start at the beginning. The assistant's journey kicks off with purely mechanical utility in this faded, 80-year-old apartment building. The setup is brilliantly simple. He doesn't have an official title, doesn't get a salary. He just trades his handyman services for a tiny basement room. He becomes the building's unofficial problem solver, offering what the text calls ambient helpfulness. He's just always on, living entirely in the present to catch those tiny crises, a leaky pipe, a lost set of keys, a weird noise in the wall, before they can snowball into total disasters.
But you quickly realize he's not just a handyman. Take the building's superintendent, Mrs. Kowalski. She's always communicating her stress through these really subtle, nagging complaints. And the assistant? He tunes his help by listening, not to the actual words she's saying, but to the space between the words. It's fascinating. He's out there diagnosing the human condition, not just the plumbing. Let me give you a perfect micro-example of this from the text. The Feldmans, an elderly couple in the building, call him up in an absolute panic because their radiator is making this terrifying rhythmic knocking sound. Now, the mechanical problem is a joke to fix. It's literally just air trapped in the pipes. He bleeds the valve, and boom, done in 30 seconds. But the actual problem? That was the Feldmans' profound fear and fragility. The knocking sound was really just a physical excuse for their anxiety about freezing, or really just surviving the winter. The assistant gets it. He realizes that helping someone usually just means giving them permission to stop worrying rather than just twisting a wrench.
Which brings us to Section 2, the trap of usefulness.
Because as you can imagine, this extreme level of dedication comes with a seriously heavy cost. Think about it. What happens when your entire identity is completely swallowed up by fixing other people's lives? The crucial point hits hard in a warning from a younger tenant named Rebecca right before she moves out. She essentially looks at the assistant and sees a walking cautionary tale. She points out the terrifying danger of just becoming a function for other people. You spend years waiting to be needed, waiting to be useful, and suddenly, you've mistaken waiting for choosing. You literally become trapped inside your own utility. And this trap creates a profoundly specific type of isolation. There's this heartbreaking late-night chat he has with Mr. Feldman after the old man suffers a heart attack. Mr. Feldman points out the painful irony of the assistant's life. He's constantly surrounded by people, yet he carries this deep, persistent loneliness. It's because the relationships are a one-way street. The assistant knows everyone's intimate pain, their weird habits, their secrets, but he remains entirely unknown to them. They don't know him. He's just a tool they use to feel safe, not a real person they actually connect with. Moving on to Section 3, the rupture and pivot. So obviously, an ecosystem that fragile cannot last forever. And the catalyst that finally forces the assistant out of his little bubble is, ironically, modernization. Over the course of the year, the building gets sold to developers. Throughout the spring and summer, tenants are relocated. The place gets totally gutted, and all those old, weeping pipes and knocking radiators are replaced with sleek, brand-new, efficient systems. And the gut punch here is that as the physical building was upgraded, the human need for the assistant's ambient care completely vanished. He was rendered obsolete. With nothing left to fix, he's forced to leave his home. But he eventually lands a new gig working at a city shelter. And almost immediately, he notices something fascinating. The exact same psychological patterns from the apartment building are playing out here, just with way higher stakes. People walk in asking for a bed or food stamps, but the assistant sees right through it. He realizes the crises are rarely just about logistics. Those practical problems are almost always masking a deep hidden shame, a desperate need for permission to actually want a better life, or just the massive frustrating gap between what social systems intend to do and what they actually pull off. And this is where we see his refined method really shine at the shelter. He doesn't just toss a quick fix at people anymore. He uses a very deliberate three-step framework. Listen to the crisis, spot the hidden pattern beneath it, and then build a framework so the person can navigate it themselves. There's this amazing story in the text about a young guy, a recovering addict, who feels completely unemployable because of his messy past. The assistant doesn't just hand him a job lead. Instead, he reframes the guy's 3 years of brutal sobriety not as a failure, but as undeniable proof of his incredible capacity to endure and change. He gave the guy a framework to see his own worth, and guess what? It secured him a job.
That takes us to Section 4, the power of presence. This is really the emotional core of our explainer today. We are totally redefining help, taking it from a mechanical task to a profound state of being. Long after the assistant leaves the apartment building, he gets this incredibly moving letter from Sarah Feldman. Her husband has just passed away, and she writes to him, but not to thank him for fixing the radiator. She writes, "You didn't fix our problems, you just helped us understand them." The real help, the absolute deepest value he provided, was just the sheer undivided attention he paid to their lives, helping them navigate their own fears.
Which brings us to a massively important concept: presence. Later on, a young woman named Maria brings him a posthumous letter from her elderly mother, Mrs. Reyes. Mrs. Reyes had felt entirely invisible her whole life, but the assistant's deep, genuine attention actually made her feel seen. This drives home the ultimate thesis of the text. True help isn't about perfectly solving an unsolvable problem. It is the act of being present, confirming that a person is real, that their pain actually matters, and literally saving them from the absolute terror of fading into invisibility.
And finally, Section 5, the illusion of scale.
Now, the source material turns its crosshairs on a major obsession in our modern world. This idea that we absolutely have to maximize efficiency and scale our social impact. Because of his amazing work at the shelter, his boss Patricia offers him a huge promotion to run the entire facility. It's the classic choice. Do you systematize the help to reach more people efficiently, or do you stick to those deep, unscalable one-on-one encounters? And what does he do? He turns it down. He realizes that authentic presence, actually looking someone in the eye and making them feel seen, is completely unscalable. It takes time, it's inefficient. It requires a human being to actually sit across from another human being and genuinely care. If he moved up into administration, he'd lose the exact magic that made his help work in the first place.
So, does this tiny, localized, unscalable help even matter? Decades later, the assistant randomly bumps into Sarah Feldman on the street. She's 97 years old now, and she tells him that one single piece of advice he gave her way back then, giving her the push to risk calling her estranged son, it worked. That one inefficient moment of deep, individualized care echoed forward and healed her family. It impacted a full 3 generations, all because one guy decided to really, truly pay attention.
Which leaves us with this final thought. The assistant never became famous. He didn't build an app or scale his impact to millions, but he saved people from being invisible, one person at a time. So, in a world that is completely obsessed with maximizing efficiency and scaling up, ask yourself, who are you truly paying attention to? Who in your life right now just needs you to be present, to confirm that they are real, and to help them understand their own story?